If this does not wake you up, America, I don't know what will at this point. This is absolutely wild. We had an attempted assassination on a former president and a presidential candidate, but we're going to go a lot deeper. And you must understand to study history is to be able to predict the future. There's a lot of patterns and a lot of deep connections that can give us almost a clear picture of where we're heading in the future. First of all, my heart and my family's prayers goes out to Trump and his family, every single person in the audience, the person that lost their life, and the people who were injured as well. And all the people in the audience, such a traumatic experience. Our heart and prayers go out to your families. I don't care what side of the coin you're on, guys. There's never justification for violence, ever. So my heart and prayers go out to every single person involved. We're going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to go back into Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, and we're going to look at 4 different assassinations, either an assassination on 2 and 2 attempted assassinations, and how they have a connection to the banking system. This information is so unbelievably critical. Go do your own research, but this stuff is so critical to where you should be preparing your family for the future, financially, spiritually, and mentally. The next 6 months are going to be bumpy. So you better have that foundation of Christ and God, or some sort of foundation, because in God we trust, not in man. So let's dive into this video. So I'm going to first break down Ray Dalio's Changing World Order. Now, this is something that I've studied obsessively for years now. Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, the big debt crisis, his book Principles is absolutely amazing as well. But if you take a look at this, and then we're going to go into some really interesting connections that are floating around the internet. Okay. So if you look at the Changing World Order, this happens over and over again. Ray Dalio studied back 500 years, and America is heading towards 16, 17, and 18. Now I'm going to pause for just a moment. America isn't going to collapse. The dollar isn't going to collapse. People keep saying that. There's a transition in our monetary system. And by the end, I hope I can demystify that and prove to you what I mean by that, and why I'm so bullish on cryptocurrency, and why I like to insure my money in tier 1 capital, because the system is changing as we know it. So if you dive into this, okay, listen, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So if we look at 9, less productive, overextended, losing competitiveness. America is literally the everybody's watching us, and we're the laughing stock of the world right now. We're losing our competitiveness. Massive wealth gap since 1971. We have massive debts. More money was printed than in history from 2020 to 2023, specifically 23 trillion. It took us 223 years up into 2000 to print 8 trillion, or to get 8 trillion in debt. And in 2 years, we did as much as it took in 200, or tripled in 200 what it took 223 years. Let that sink in. If we keep going at this pace, we'll be at 50 trillion in debt by 2050. Printing of money, they turn the printing on full blast. Internal conflict, that's already happened in America. Loss of reserve currency, we're in a transition right now. Weak leadership, I think after the debate, we could all see that. And now what's interesting, what's happening now, not only within left and right, Democrat and Republican, but within the own Democratic Party, they're starting to fractionalize or fracture and separate, and they're starting to go against each other. One group wants Biden wants to continue on, and a whole other group wants to replace him so they can come after Trump. So after that debate, it put them into a tailspin, and then historical moment where there was an attempted assassination on the president. Civil war and revolution. This is where I want to pause for just a moment, okay? What happened this last weekend got a lot of people emotional, right? You have the former president of the United States and the current president who's running for the presidency gets shot in the side of the face, comes up and tells the Secret Service, he says, fight, fight. And there was this moment that will go down in history, which is captured on the thumbnail. That is going to go down in history. I was sitting there with my son, and he's like, Dad, why are you getting emotional? I said, because this is a historical moment. We've been studying this stuff for a very long time, and it just breaks my heart that people will go that far for money, that far for power. But he survived it. So whether you like him or not, that was a reflection of America, an American reflection of we are proud to be an American. We fight for what we believe in. We fight for our freedom. So now here we are. We're at the New World Order. Now, what is a New World Order? It's a change in a monetary system, governmental structure, systems, policies, and let's stick with the financial part. Okay. So this is something that's floating around the internet. There's a lot of memes going out there, and I want to take a look at this. Okay. So we're going to first talk about the Greenback Party. So write this down. Write down Lincoln and Greenback. Now, before I go into this, there are other attempted assassinations along the way, but we're going to talk about 4 that were really, really historical to our system. Okay. We had Lincoln, who was assassinated, right? So the Greenback Party, known successively as the Independent Party, the National Independent Party, and the Greenback Labor Party, was an American political party with an anti-key monopoly ideology, which was acted from 1874 to 1889. The party ran candidates in 3 presidential elections in 1876, 1880, and 1884 before it faded away. The party's name referred to the gold-backed paper money, commonly known as greenbacks, that had been issued by the North during the American Civil War and shortly after. The party opposed the deflationary lowering of prices paid to producers that was entailed by a return of the bullion based on the monetary system. The policy favored the Republican Democratic parties. Continuing use of the unbacked currency, it was believed, would better foster businesses and assist farmers by raising prices and making debts easier to pay. Sounds familiar, right? Okay, so then we go over here. It says this was in May 2nd, 1934. This was Lay's Lincoln death to a plot by bankers, Canadian and Ottawa speech. Okay, so this is something you want to dive into. I just want to give you some rabbit holes you can go down. Okay, so they're saying that Lincoln's death was due to a plot by bankers. You're going to have to do your own research around that. Okay. So that was a big assassination. Then we're going to go into an executive order 11110 was issued by U.S. President John F. Kennedy on June 4th, 1963. This executive order amended the executive order of 10289 dated September 17, 1951 by delegate of Secretary of Treasury, the President of Authority to issue silver certificates under the Thomas Amendment of the Agriculture Adjustment Act. Okay. Now, the key to this is this was removing it, like taking it away from the Federal Reserve. Key, taking it away from the Federal Reserve. And JFK was assassinated. So he was trying to take the power out of the Federal Reserve's hands. Okay. And then he was assassinated. Very interesting, right? Are we seeing a correlation here? Could be. Then we go over to President Ronald Reagan. President Ronald Reagan in 1981 was trying to put us back on the gold standard. Remember, in 1971, President Nixon removed us from the gold standard. Interesting enough, the World Economic Forum was created in 1971 as well. But President Nixon removed us from the gold standard in 1981. Reagan was trying to get us back on the gold standard. So the Gold Standard Commission was created in 1981. And there was an assassination attempt on his life on the afternoon of March 1981. President Ronald Reagan was leaving the Washington Hilton Hotel after giving a speech to the Union group where John W. Hinckley Jr. opened fire on his .22 caliber revolver. Interesting, right? So Reagan survived an assassination attempt, and his response changed the trajectory of his presidency. Well, we all just went through this, a historical moment, and I'm going to take you back 7 years where President Trump has been concerned around the devaluation of our currency. Since 1913, the Federal Reserve, go read the book, The Creature of Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve, the US dollar has collapsed 97 to 99%. This was Trump's speech 7 years ago. And then we're going to break down what I think may be happening. Now, this is just my opinion. I would love to hear your feedback down below, but this is how I'm making my decisions. And it's interesting that why would they want to take him out? Now, we have a billionaire that's running for president who has his own money, his own agenda, and doesn't really need the system. So let's just listen to what he has to say.
As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field, because that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way that you can fairly compete in trade and other things. and we will be on that field, and we will all be working very hard to do great for our country. But it has to be fair, and we will make it fair.
Okay, so do you think whoever they are, do you think they want a fair, even playing field? Absolutely not, right? So that was 7 years ago. So he's talking about the monetary system and an even playing field. Okay, now I'm going to read this and narrate this for you. So this is a video that came out from this was, I think it was NBC, right? So I'm going to read what it said. It's a minute-long video, but I'm going to read it. So if you're driving or something, I can just read this off to you guys. Okay, so this is the return back to the gold standard. Okay, there's a common theme here. So one was silver, Reagan was gold. We have the greenback, right? There's something where they're all trying to bring us back to a true monetary system, and that takes the power out of their hands, right? They can't just print money. They can't just print money to buy bonds, right? They can't just turn the printing machine on and Cantillon affect it. They don't want us to go into a real economy where we have real back currency, where they really have to put in work and actually create stuff and create jobs and have a real actual economy where they have to work for their money, right? So I'm going to read this off to you guys, okay? So it's returning back to the gold standard, and this was 5 years ago, okay? This was 5 years ago, key. As President Donald Trump is nominating an economist to the Federal Reserve who wants the U.S. to return to a gold standard. So Judy Shelton, one of his two picks to join the central bank, is advocating for a return to a monetary policy abandoned in 1971. So Reagan was trying to fix this, and now Trump was trying to fix this. The gold standard ties the value of the dollar to gold, which means the dollar could be traded for its equivalent in gold. But most mainstream economists said the idea is antiquated and would prove dangerous to the U.S. economy. Tying the dollar to gold reserves, this is really important. Tying the dollar to gold reserves would give the Federal Reserve less flexibility to handle economic downturns, for instance. Shelton argues a return to the gold-backed standard would create more stability and deter currency manipulation from other countries. It's unlikely Shelton could influence a return to the gold standard, given she would be one of 12 Fed officials setting monetary policy. So Trump said 7 years ago, we're going to be on an even playing field. He was bringing in Judy Shelton to the Federal Reserve that wants to go back to a gold-backed currency. And we all know with cryptocurrency and the cryptocurrencies that we hold, an asset-backed type of a digital currency in a gold type of way or an asset-backed type of way, right? So this was right after the presidential attempted assassination on July 14, 2024. Bitcoin price suddenly soars over 600,000 after Trump assassination attempt sends its odds of victory to an all-time high. And now Trump has become the Bitcoin president. Trump to speak at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville on July 27th. The former president will give a 30-minute speech at 2 p.m. Central. Okay, so if we study history, Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, based on economic cycles, America is changing the way we do things. Okay, there's going to be a new president that comes in that is going to transform the financial system. We are going to be able to get through this. It's going to be very positive. We are going to grow our way out of it. There's going to be an even monetary system in a digital currency type of way. Distributed ledger technology, on-demand liquidity, private and public sector are going to come together. You're going to see blockchain technology become the new innovation. You're going to see companies like Ripple, companies like Circle, companies like Coinbase. Ripple's going to become a bank. Okay. Kraken's going to become a bank. Wells Fargo is going to start to custody your cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is going to be gold, a store of value. Things like XRP are going to be a bridge currency. And people are going to start investing in the infrastructure of the new financial system. That is why the Ripple case has lasted 4 years. America got caught with no shorts on when the tide went out, as Warren Buffett says. So what you're seeing is a transition in a financial system. What you're seeing is 100 years later. Do your research on about every 100 years. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913. We're 100 years later. There's a new change in the system. So what I'm praying for is safety, soundness, getting back to God, getting back to an asset-backed currency in a gold type of way to make sure that our money is sound, that it is safe, and that we're on an even playing field. And so what me and my family have done is we have invested in these speculative assets, not looking at the speculators, not looking at the pump and dumpers, not getting excited about this stuff, but taking a real world view look and saying, hey, where's this system going? And as this stuff goes up and it goes parabolic, I'm pulling profits on the way up 2024, 2025. As it comes down 2026, I'll had exited quite a few times, holding 50% for legacy for my grandkids, kids. I'm pulling it down the risk pyramid and I'm ensuring my wealth. I'm also diversifying in business. I'm using Bitcoin as my gold. And now we're heading into real estate. We're going to be doing multifamily. The infrastructure is changing. Our world is changing. What just happened this last weekend is historical. Absolutely historical. Absolutely historical. Go research the time that the shots rang out, 6/11, and go research the biblical verse, 6/11. The armor of God is with us. This is God's time. Christ has returned. Christ has risen. Christ is here, and it is going to be amazing. It's going to be bumpy, but I promise you, it's going to be amazing. So develop that relationship with God, the foundation of Christ Jesus, and get ready for the most radical transformation in our living history. It's time to get our shit together, family. So if you need any support at all, if you click the description of my video, you can fill out a needs assessment. We can help you with retirement strategies. Have a qualified team member reach out to you, or you can click my bio on my social media platform and you can do the same. And I'll see you on the inside. Warriors, rise, get your shit together. Let's go. Love you guys.